I never expected a night's rest would lead to one of the most intense and unforgettable moments of my life. All because of Rayanne. It started after one of those endless work days, the kind that leaves your body aching and your mind drained. I got home late, skipped dinner, and dragged myself to the bedroom. The house was quiet. Still, only the faint hallway light slid beneath the door, casting a thin golden line across the floor. I changed into something comfortable and sank into the mattress. The sheets were cool, inviting. I let out a long, tired sigh and closed my eyes. Within minutes, I was out, lost in the kind of sleep that erases time. I did not know how long I slept, but something shifted, a change in the air. Faint, almost unnoticeable, like a quiet presence brushing against the edge of my awareness. I thought I was dreaming, just a wisp of movement in the room. Something so subtle, my brain couldn't catch it. That liminal space between sleep and wakefulness is strange, where logic fades and feeling takes over. I stirred slightly, unsure if I imagined it. Then I felt it. The bed shifted, a gentle pressure near my side. Not alarming, not threatening, just real. A warm presence settled beside me, and the hairs on my arm stood on end. My heart beat a little faster, not from fear, but from something unspoken lingering in the silence. I opened my eyes, just a little. The hallway light spilled across the silhouette of someone sitting at the edge of my bed. As my vision cleared, I recognized a face. Rayanne. He'd been staying with me for the past few weeks, helping around the house after his apartment flooded. We had always gotten along. We talked, we laughed, but that night, something felt different. More raw, more human. His eyes met mine. There was a stillness in him, a kind of silent storm just under the surface. One hand rested gently on my arm, not forceful, just steady. I blinked. Rayanne, what's wrong? I asked, voice soft with sleep. I couldn't sleep, he murmured. I was gonna go for a walk, but I ended up here. I don't know why. His tone was calm, but heavy, like he had been carrying something for a long time. You okay? I asked. He hesitated. His hand slipped from my arm, resting on his lap as he looked down. I don't know, he said quietly. I've been off lately, thinking too much, feeling things I don't understand. It's been building, and I just needed to be near someone I trust. His words hit me hard. There was something deeply human in his voice, something breaking. You can always talk to me, I said. You know that. He nodded but didn't speak for a while. The room stayed quiet, like the air itself was listening. Eventually, he looked at me again. His face was tired, more than just physically. I lost someone, he whispered, before I moved in. Someone important. I haven't told anyone. My breath caught. I sat up a little straighter. Who? I asked. He looked away. Her name was Noor. She was everything to me, and when she died, I didn't know how to breathe anymore. I pretended. I smiled. I helped people. But inside, I was breaking. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. That night, the night she passed, he continued. I was supposed to be with her, but I wasn't. And now, every quiet moment feels like a punishment. He covered his face with both hands. And for the first time, I saw the weight he had been carrying, not in words, but in the silence between them. Without thinking, I reached over and put a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone, I said. His voice cracked, but it feels like I am, every second. I nodded. Then let's start with this one. You're not alone in this second. He didn't say anything, just leaned his head forward until it rested gently against mine. The moment was quiet, raw, real. There was no shame, no confusion, just two people, holding each other through a storm neither of them knew how to name. That night, we didn't say much more. He stayed in the room, sat on the floor, beside the bed with his back against the wall. Eventually, he fell asleep there, like his body finally allowed itself to rest. And me, I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, not thinking about what happened, but what it meant. I swallowed hard, my mind racing as I tried to make sense of the moment. There was something in the way Rayanne looked at me, something behind his softened voice that made my chest tighten in ways I could not explain. I wanted to ask him what he was feeling, wanted to press for answers, but part of me was scared of what I might hear. Rayanne looked up, his gaze locking with mine, searching for something. Understanding, comfort, maybe even permission. "I've been thinking," he said softly, his voice barely a whisper. "About you. About us." My breath caught. For a split second, the world seemed to pause. This wasn't just a late-night conversation. There was a weight behind his words, real and raw. I felt the ground shift beneath me. I don't know what that means," I said, my voice shaky, betraying confusion and fear churning inside me. Rayanne leaned in just slightly, his hand brushing against mine. The contact was soft, but it sent a current through me. "It means," he said, "I'm done pretending. I've tried to keep things inside, keep things normal, but I can't anymore. I can't keep lying to myself." His words echoed in the silence that followed. The air between us grew thick, filled with unsaid thoughts and restless energy. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. This man, this friend who had become my quiet anchor over the last few weeks, was opening a door I was not sure I was ready to walk through. I wanted to pull away, but something in me couldn't. I started, struggling to find words. "Rayanne, this is complicated." He nodded, his gaze never leaving mine. "I know, but it's still real." He exhaled, his fingers curling slightly as he tried to steady himself. "I've tried to silence it. Thought maybe it would pass. But it hasn't. Every time I see you, every time I sit in silence near you, it only grows." His confession was steady, but the tremble in his voice betrayed how hard it was for him to say. I swallowed again, the air around me thick with emotion. I was treading unfamiliar waters that terrified me but also pulled me in. "I'm scared," I admitted quietly. "I don't want to ruin what we have. What if we lose everything because of this?" Rayanne's hand tightened gently on mine. "Then we'll take it slow. Talk. Breathe. We don't have to rush anything. But I won't pretend anymore. Not with you." He reached up, his fingers brushing lightly against my cheek, a touch so gentle it made my heart ache. "I just want to be honest. That's all." I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breathing. This man, who had once been a quiet presence in my house, someone simply passing through a hard time, had slowly become something more. Not just a guest, not just a friend, but someone who saw me, really saw me, when I didn't know I needed to be seen. When I opened my eyes again, Rayanne was still there, watching, not pressuring, just waiting. He looked vulnerable, not weak, but open, the kind of openness that takes courage. And maybe that's what made me lean forward. Not desire, not confusion, but trust. A kind of trust that said we might not have all the answers, but we can try. Together. I swallowed hard, my mind racing as I tried to make sense of the moment. There was something the way Rayanne looked at me, his eyes soft, voice lower than before, that made my chest tighten. I wanted to ask what he was feeling. I wanted to press him to speak, but part of me was afraid of the answer. Still, I leaned in, not because I understood everything, but because, in that moment, I trusted him more than the silence. Our foreheads touched first gentle, then my lips brushed against his, tentative, unsure, like we were both holding our breath. The world beyond that room seemed to fade. The walls, the weight of our past, the voices of doubt gone. Just us, still, present. Rayanne responded slowly, his hand sliding from my face to the back of my neck. The kiss deepened, not rushed, not wild, just deliberate, real. His touch sent a current through me, like it was lighting up parts of me I had forgotten were even there. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless. Our foreheads stayed together, eyes closed, the quiet humming between us louder than anything either of us had said so far. "I've wanted this," Rayanne whispered, for longer than I knew how to admit. His words hit me harder than I expected. This wasn't sudden for him. He had been carrying this feeling quietly, patiently, not knowing if it was welcome. And now it was out. "I don't know what this means," I replied, my voice thin and shaky. "I don't know what happens next. Rayanne offered a small, understanding smile. "We do not have to figure it out today," he said. "We can take it one moment at a time. No pressure, just honesty." His calmness grounded me. There was no rush, no expectation, just presence and care. I nodded, still overwhelmed, but more at peace than I had been in years. Something about last night had shifted things between us, not in a way that felt reckless, but in a way that felt overdue. We sat there in silence, but it was a comfortable silence now, not heavy. His hand slipped from my neck but stayed nearby, his presence steady. We stayed like that until the early hours of the morning, not speaking, just letting the air settle. The moment didn't need explaining. Eventually, we went to our own rooms. No promises, no plans, just space to breathe. But the next morning I felt it. The weight of what had happened lingered in the air like a fog, gentle, but impossible to ignore. I hadn't slept. My mind kept replaying everything. What he said, what I felt, the way it all just happened. The kiss, the honesty, the stillness. When I finally got out of bed, I moved slowly. My chest felt tight. I didn't know what I'd find when I went downstairs. Would he be gone? Would it be awkward? Or worse, would we pretend nothing happened? I made my way to the kitchen quietly. And there he was. Rayanne sat at the table, coffee in hand, staring out the window. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft shadows across his face. He looked calm, but thoughtful. When he noticed me, he turned slowly. Our eyes met, and the room filled with unspoken things again. "Morning," he said gently. "Morning." I replied, my voice still raw. I crossed the kitchen, poured myself a cup, and sat across from him. The air between us was intense, but it was careful, like we were both waiting for the other to speak first. "I made coffee," Rayanne said, motioning to the pot. "Thanks," I said, offering a small smile. It felt fragile, but real. For a moment, we sat in silence, sipping. It could have been any morning, but it wasn't. Then he placed his cup down. "So, about last night," he began. My heart skipped. My heart beat faster at his words, and I swallowed hard, bracing myself for whatever was about to come next. "I don't want you to feel weird about it," Rayanne said, his gaze steady, searching mine. "I don't regret last night, but I also don't want you to think I'm expecting anything. Not more than you're ready for." His voice was calm, sincere, and the honesty in it calmed something inside me. He wasn't pushing. He wasn't demanding. He was giving me space. The one thing I didn't realize I needed. "I don't regret it either," I whispered, "but I'm still trying to make sense of it." Rayanne nodded. "I get it. This is new for both of us." I took a slow breath, my fingers curling around the warm coffee mug in front of me. "I don't know what this means," I admitted, "but I do know I don't want to lose you. I don't want this to ruin the connection we have." He leaned forward, his hand resting lightly on the table. His fingers brushed against mine, just enough to remind me that he was still right there. "It won't," he said gently. "Whatever this is, we'll figure out together, at your pace." His words settled over me like a soft blanket. The fear I'd been carrying all morning began to lift. It didn't have to be complicated. We didn't have to solve it all at once. Rayanne's hand lingered near mine. I thought about reaching out, like I had the night before, but I paused, not out of hesitation, just awareness that we had time. I smiled instead, small but genuine. "Thank you for not rushing me, for just being here." Rayanne leaned back in his chair with a slight grin. "So," he said playfully, "does this mean I get to take you out on a proper date?" I blinked, caught off guard by his shift in tone. Then I laughed, a real laugh. It was exactly what I needed. Something light, something human. "A date?" I teased, raising an eyebrow. "You're serious?" He shrugged, still smiling. "Why not? Isn't that what people do when they like each other? Go on dates, figure things out over awkward coffee and shared appetizers." I shook my head, but I was still smiling. And strangely, the idea didn't feel ridiculous. It felt right, normal, grounded. "Okay, I said finally. Let's do it. A date. Rayanne's eyes lit up. Really? Really? I nodded. Let's take it slow. Figure this out. He reached across the table, and this time I didn't pull away. His hand closed over mine, firm but gentle. I'm looking forward to it, he said, voice low and filled with something quiet and steady. My chest tightened in a way that wasn't painful, just full of emotion, possibility, and a strange kind of peace. This wasn't what I expected, but it felt like something I didn't know I'd been waiting for. We didn't need to have all the answers. We just needed to keep showing up for each other. And we did. Over the next few days, something between us shifted, subtle at first, but steady. We started moving through the world with a different rhythm, one filled with more ease, more presence. We laughed more, cooked together, shared more of our stories, not the polished versions, but the ones that still hurt a little to tell. There were soft glances across the room, gentle touches that lingered, a quiet understanding that something was growing, but neither of us was in a hurry to label it. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sun melt into the horizon, Rayanne reached over and took my hand again, our fingers interlaced, like they had done it 1,000 times before. We're doing this, huh? I asked, my voice soft in the quiet evening air. He smiled, looking at me with eyes that said more than words ever could. Yeah, he said, we are. For the first time, I felt it, certainty. Whatever this was, wherever it was going, we were going to figure out together. The days turned into weeks, and the connection between us only deepened. There was no pressure, no need to define it too soon. Just a shared agreement to keep walking side by side, seeing where it led. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was real, and that was more than enough. Being with Rayanne made everything feel easier. Our dates, as he casually called them, were never extravagant. They were long walks through the park, late-night talks over cups of tea, or quiet evenings curled up on the couch watching old films and laughing at the cheesy lines. There was no pressure, no performance. Just us showing up for each other in small, meaningful ways. The unspoken bond that had always existed between us had grown into something neither of us could ignore. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't planned. It simply happened, and slowly, we allowed ourselves to lean into it. One evening, we sat side by side on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in deep strokes of gold, orange, and soft rose. The air smelled like the end of summer, warm, gentle, still. In that quiet moment, I realized how much had changed. Not just between us, but within me. We weren't the same two people we had been that night, when everything first shifted. When feelings came tumbling out of the dark, unfamiliar and unexpected. Now, sitting beside him, Rayanne's hand resting lightly over mine, I felt calm, anchored, something I hadn't felt in years. Remember when we used to sit out here after dinner? Rayanne asked, breaking the stillness. You'd tell me stories, and I just asked a million questions about the stars. I smiled, the memory warm in my chest. You've always been curious. Rayanne laughed, gently squeezing my hand. I guess I've always wanted to understand things, especially the things that don't make sense right away. There was something in his voice, something quieter, more vulnerable, that made my heart skip, a kind of depth that said he was about to say something important. I've been thinking, he said, his voice softer now, about us, about where this is going. My breath caught slightly. He turned to face me, his eyes reflecting the last bits of sunlight, earnest and open. I know we said we'd take it slow, and we have, but I don't want to hold back anymore. I don't want to pretend like I don't already know how I feel. His words hung in the space between us, heavy with meaning. He wasn't just talking about affection. He was talking about commitment, about something real. I don't want to hold back either. I said finally, my voice low, almost trembling, but it's still a little complicated for me. Rayanne nodded, the corners of his mouth pulling into a gentle, understanding smile. I know, but that doesn't make it any less real. He reached out, his thumb brushing the side of my hand. We don't need to have it all figured out. We just need to stop pretending it's not happening. I swallowed the lump in my throat. He was right. The connection between us, this deep, quiet, natural love, wasn't something we could keep dancing around. I've never felt like this before. I whispered. Me neither, Rayanne said, but that's what makes it matter. His words cracked something open inside me, and before I could stop myself, I leaned in. Our lips met, not rushed, not uncertain, but calm and full of everything we hadn't yet said. His hands cupped my face, pulling me gently toward him, and the world seemed to pause. In that kiss, there was no fear, no confusion, only the quiet certainty of two people choosing each other. When we pulled apart, breathless and still close, Rayanne rested his forehead against mine. His eyes searched mine, soft but unflinching. "I love you," he said. The words landed like a warm wave, washing over every part of me I had kept guarded. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't grand. It was honest. And I felt it too. "I love you," I replied, my voice cracking under the weight of the moment. He smiled and kissed me again, slower this time. Softer, like the beginning of something sacred. The days that followed felt like waking up from a long sleep. Everything was lighter, easier. We no longer had to second-guess our actions, no longer had to dance around words. We just lived. Together, we walked through open fields. We sat by the lake under trees heavy with spring. Sometimes we talked for hours. Sometimes we said nothing at all. And in that silence, I found something deeper than conversation. I found comfort, belonging. One evening, we lay together in bed. Rayanne curled into me, his head resting gently against my chest. His fingers traced soft lines over my shirt, like he was memorizing the rhythm of my breathing. "I don't want this to ever end," he whispered. "It won't," I replied without hesitation. "We've got this." He smiled, eyes fluttering shut, his hand tightening slightly on my chest. And I held him, feeling a peace I hadn't known I was searching for. The world outside might not understand us. It might question us, label us, doubt us. But that didn't matter. What mattered was what we found here, in the quiet space between our words, in the way we chose each other. Again and again, we didn't need the world to approve. We just needed each other.